I love college football and I love watching College Game Day, right? I love that entire show. One of my favorite things about it is the way they interview players and just kind of bring the players into our lives, right? Or let us jump into their lives and see who they really are and get to know them. And I also love the way the show ends. At the end of the show, these guys go around and they make their picks for all of the big games that day. They say who they think is going to win the game and why. And they spend a lot of time telling us who's going to win the game and what we should think about these teams, who's for real and who's not, who's strong, who's weak, who's tough, who's soft. And they just get into all of these details and they tell us like it's a fact, right? And I remember seeing a couple weeks ago when App State was playing Texas A&M, and they were talking about how Texas A&M was just so strong as a dominant team, and it really wasn't going to be much of a game. Whoops. A couple weeks later, the next week, they're in Boone at App State, and they're talking about how App State is just going to blow their opponent off the field because of what they had done to Texas A&M the week before. App State is for real. Whoops, took a Hail Mary on the last play to win that one, right? But they talk about these things, right? One week they are so high on a team, the next week they're low on it. And it's not just them, it's all of us too, right? One week we are loving this coach. This coach is the best coach in America. 2 weeks later, this coach is in the hot seat ready to be fired. And with our opinions going up and down, and with other people's opinions going up and down and up and down, up and down, if we don't know how to ride that out, if we don't know how to block out that noise, we're in some trouble. So how is it? How do you do that? How do you block out the noise of somebody telling you how you should feel about yourself? About all of these people telling you whether you're good or you're bad, whether you're tough or you're soft, what your team is like. How do you handle that? Because that noise is everywhere. It's going to be everywhere for you as a football team. It's going to be everywhere for you as a man. And we need to understand how to ride out those highs and those lows. And we need to understand where we find our identity. My man Jesus, in Matthew chapter 16, Jesus is traveling along with his disciples, and he asks them this question. In Matthew chapter 16, he says, when Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, who do people say the Son of Man is? They replied, some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. See, Jesus started this conversation and says, who do all of those other people say that I am? And they gave all the answers, right? And they said, well, some people think you're a prophet. They basically said, most of them think you're a good guy. Then listen to what Jesus says. But what about you? He asked. Who do you say that I am? Simon Peter announced, you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. So Jesus made the jump, and he made the jump from who does everybody else say that I am? And he turned and he looked at his disciples, the 12 guys that were with him through thick and thin. These were the 12 guys who had his back. These were his best friends. And so Jesus didn't spend a whole lot of time. He wasn't overly concerned with what everybody out there was saying about him. He wanted to know, who do my teammates say that I am? And Simon said, you are the Son of God. Jesus replied, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by man, but my Father in heaven. So Jesus starts out by saying, what does everybody else out there think about me? What are they saying about me? And then Jesus like, we're not going to stop there, though. That's not where we're going to get this. And Jesus said, what about our team here? Who does the team say that I am? And then Jesus takes it a step further. I don't know if you heard this, but Jesus says, Simon Peter, you are right when you said that I am the Christ, because that is who God said that I am. You see, Jesus knew something. Jesus knew that he needed to have a group of men around him. He needed to have those 12 guys surrounding him, helping him, holding him up, helping him out with his mission. And he knew there had to be something about it. He knew that those guys had to know who he was. Those guys had to say who God said he was. And Jesus got power from that. Jesus grew strong. It's the same for us as men, all right? Men, we are never stronger than when we are surrounded by other men telling us what God says is true about us. You don't need other guys around you telling you everything that somebody else is saying about you, telling all the gossip, telling all those people who say you're great, telling all those people who say you're sorry, talking about all of those people who out there who think that your team is going to win, talking about all those people who think your team is going to lose. You don't need those people around you telling you all that stuff. What you need is a group of guys who will pour into you and tell you the truth about who God says you are. What does that mean for us as men? That means I got friends in my life who, when I'm not sure what decision to make, I'm not sure which way I'm going, I got guys that are going to step into my life and say, hey, Darren, this is who God says you are. Darren, God says you can say no to this. Darren, God says you can walk away from this. Darren, God says you have a hope and a future. Darren, God says you have courage inside of you that He'll never leave you or forsake you. And when those guys do that, I become strong. Hey, fellas, it's no different as a football team. I don't know what your team is going through right now. Maybe everybody's saying you're awesome. Maybe everybody's saying you're sorry. I don't know what that is. But here's what I know. When you step onto the field tonight, what everybody else is saying doesn't matter. All those people outside the team, they are not going to be on the field with you tonight. They're not going to be out there blocking, tackling, sweating. They're not going to be out there pushing themselves with everything that they've got. You need to stop listening to those outside voices, and you need to stop listening to them now. On the field, those outside voices aren't going to help you. On the field, where are you going to get your strength tonight? You're going to get it from those 12 guys, 11 or 10 guys on the field that are surrounding you who are telling you the truth about who God says you are. Here's my challenge to you, men. When you step on the field tonight, you pour into the guys beside you. Hey, bro, God says you got a spirit of courage inside of you. Don't worry about this. Hey, man, God says you are strong enough to do everything through Him who gives you strength. You can do this, and pour into them. Bro, you're accepted. You are loved. I got your back. No matter what, we're together. We're on the same team. We're in the same family. Guys, we got to start speaking courage into each other. Don't tear each other down. Don't worry about the noise that's outside of us. Don't worry about whatever you think you can or cannot do tonight. Know the truth about who you are and who God says you are, and play with that kind of courage, with that kind of love, with that kind of self-discipline tonight, because Christ says you are a champion in Him.